Have you ever been in this situation where you know that your child is upset by something and you even have a pretty good idea of what it could be, but you can't get them to talk to you about it? Like, you're aware it's this situation. Maybe it's the end of the school year. This situation is hard. And you can see it in their behavior, in their attitude, in their facial expressions, in their reactions. But whenever you ask them directly, they either shrug it off and act like it didn't really happen and it's not a big deal, or they get mad at you for asking. This has happened to all of us. And that's why I'm going to talk about it today in the Educated Parent podcast. I'm going to tell you the strategies that I use in therapy that often get kids to open up, and some classic things that we all do that you can avoid so that you make it more likely that you can have a real conversation. I hope you enjoy it. I just think it's excruciating when you know that your child is suffering and you know that they need to talk about it with someone and they're just completely shut down about it. It's just those situations as a parent that you can't fix are just absolutely heartbreaking. Often when we want kids to talk about something hard, we come at them really directly. Hey, is it bothering you that the school year ended? I notice you're upset. What's bothering you? What are you upset about? What's wrong? Is it this? Is it that? Could it be this? And kids get overwhelmed sometimes with that questioning. Sometimes kids don't have insight. So it's one of the reasons why you might not get an answer. They know they're upset, but they don't know why they're upset. So if you ask them lots of questions about why they're upset, it's overwhelming and frustrating because they don't have a clear answer for you. Sometimes they are afraid to talk about it with you. They don't know how you'll react. They're afraid you're going to get upset, or they think that if they don't talk about it, then it will make them feel better. So when you're in a situation like this, you have some real barriers working against you. And the other third part is that often when we ask kids questions, it's because they're in trouble. Oh, do you think that's an okay way to talk to me? Was that a nice way to play with your brother right then? Right? Those are always critical questions. So I think this also makes kids more sensitive to questions than they would be otherwise. So what do we do about this? And in a second, I'm going to tell you some strategies you can use in the actual conversation. But before I do that, I want to tell you some strategies that you can use to help them with their overall coping. So one thing you can do if you notice your child is upset, even if you don't know why, and even if they deny it, is you can be really nice to them. You can just be extra nice. Work in all of the things that you know would be comforting to them if they were upset and did tell you about it. What's their favorite food? Maybe that's what you make for dinner. Do they like going on a walk outside to see the cows in the neighboring neighborhood? Take them on that walk. Are they always happier and more comfortable when grandma comes over? Invite her over. Just do the things that make your child feel comforted. Because even if they don't ever tell you why they're upset and you never have the conversation, they will be comforted and they can tell that you care about them. Sometimes parents do this thing where they're fine, you don't want to talk about it? Then that's fine with me. We just won't talk about it. And so now the child's upset because you're mad at them and they don't feel safe and taken care of by you. So if you know your kid's upset, just start working in some nice strategies. It can't hurt and it can make things a whole lot better. Now let's talk about how to have the conversation. So the key to conversations like this are all about not asking direct questions and about having lots of silences where kids can provide their own information. These conversations are always best had when you are casually doing an activity that's sort of distracting both of you. So this depends on the age of the kid, right? This works with young kids. This also works with teenagers. So maybe if it's a younger kid, you're doing Legos together when you bring this up and you're focused and they're focused and you're kind of side by side, but you're working it in. With a teenager, maybe you're driving and they're just sitting in the passenger seat. Like it's these moments where you're both kind of distracted, so you can both sort of pretend that you're not really having this conversation, but if you need to, you can sort of zone in on them. So this is my first strategy. I'm going to call it the I could be completely wrong about this strategy. This is one of the more direct strategies that I'll use. So let's use this example. Let's pretend the issue is that you know your child is struggling with some sadness and anxiety and difficulty with transitions because the school year ended. This is really, really tough on a lot of kids. I mean, imagine if your job just ended every single year and you had to start all over with a new boss and a new workplace. And by the way, you couldn't choose who those people were and you had no control over it. And you also couldn't quit. Be stressful. Like it is hard for kids when things change the way that they do. And sometimes the summer routine is completely different than the school year routine. So let's imagine that is what you think is going on. Like you know your child well, you've seen them start struggling around this time of year. Maybe they've been acting out more. You're just looking, they're bummed out, or, you're just noticing that they seem really worried. All right, so here's the strategy that I could be wrong. So let's imagine you're just putting Legos together and you say something like, I just had this thought, but I could be completely wrong about it. Sometimes at the end of the school year, it's really hard for kids. There's just so many changes and so many things that are going on that it can just be really, really hard. And it could be bothering people. I'm not saying it's bothering you. I mean, maybe it could be, but I'm not saying it is. Only you would know. Yeah, it would be understandable if it was. And then you go back to the Legos. So you just lay this out like, I have this idea and I'm probably incorrect about it. And this diffuses the situation so much because the child's not being directly questioned. You're admitting that you don't know everything, which makes them actually feel better and be more willing to open up. And you're more likely to get a response. And then notice how there isn't a direct question. It's well, this often happens to kids. And it might not be happening to you. If it did, I would get it. It really might not be. And then when you wait, then it gives your child an opportunity to say something to you. And it could be, no, it is really hard for me. Like, Mom, it is really hard. And then you can go back and be like, oh, tell me about it. So it gives you them this way of being able to either understand that about themselves, or if they already knew, to go ahead and start the conversation with you. They also might say, actually, it's not about the school year at all. That part's fine. I'm actually really nervous about summer camp. So just kind of giving this space to them by setting up the context that way greatly increases the chance that they're going to talk to you about it. But then if they do, you still have to play it cool. You basically have to play it cool this whole time. You're like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Tell me more. And then that gives you the opportunity to jump in and validate. Yeah, I can see why that bothers you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it is hard to transition. I've been there myself. It gives you that space. All right. So tool number 1, the I could be wrong tool. Tool number 2 is just talking about yourself. So it's a similar setup. So you're driving with your teenager and you're like, when I was 15, it was really hard for me when the school year ended. I had to change schools. I was really stressed out because some of my best friends were leaving. It was just really hard. I just found myself being so upset. I was crying a lot. It was just really difficult. And I really didn't feel like I could talk to anyone about it. Sometimes, when I was a kid, it was really hard. And then silence. You're going to want to say, is this also happening to you? Don't say that, right? Just let it go. Let the conversation ride. It's the hard part is for you, for me, for almost all of us, is the playing it cool, where you don't want to play it so cool that you're not interested, but you also want to be able to not put the pressure on. It's sort of a low pressure situation. And in that situation, your teenager might ask you questions about you and how you handled it. So it helps if you say something real. They might tell you themselves. They might be like, yeah, that is what's happening to me right now. And that lets you then have that discussion. They might say, nope, that's not what's happening to me. And that might just be what you get, or you might also get then an explanation of what is really bothering them. Or you might get nothing, no reaction. And then at midnight, that night, they come into your room and they tell you about what was bothering them. So often these things get delayed. So little kids are more likely to dive in and tell you in the moment. Teenagers are often, unless they really want to tell you, are often more likely to process that for a while and then come back. And also that way, even if they never tell you, they know they're not alone. So these questions, this deep dive is not for you, it's for them. It's so that they know that you love them. It's so that they know that you support them. It's so that they know they're not alone. And it's so that they know that you are a person they can come to. So it lets you, again, open that door and be there. And then you might have the discussion 3 days later and, in the middle of the night when they just come into your room. So that's the second strategy for this conversation. So there's the I don't know anything strategy. There's the when I was a kid or a teen, this is how I felt sometimes strategy. The third strategy is to bring someone in who they are more likely to have the conversation with. Like sometimes they just don't want to tell you. And that's hard. That's hard. Like we all want to be the confidant, but especially if your relationship has been rocky, especially if they feel particularly close to someone else, having that adult come in and, hang out with them and you say like, would you mind kind of talking to Tyler about this situation? And so you've just brought in kind of a counterpoint to you. I also think that it is fair to say to that adult, you don't have to tell me what it is. I just want to make sure they're talking to somebody about it. And you sort of bring that in. I wouldn't make it obvious, right? I wouldn't say, this is Uncle Dave and he's going to talk to you. You just kind of let that relationship go because again, your goal is to support your child being able to open up. Now, if this is a serious thing and this is coming up a lot, you feel your child needs therapy, we can absolutely help you at Thriving Child Center. We are really good at getting kids to talk about hard things. It's pretty incredible what kids sometimes want to share in a different environment. And they're often, after doing that, are way more open to bringing parents in. Sometimes they're not. But again, your goal is to make sure that they have a place to process what's going on. It's less about us and it's more about them. So if you're running into that, you can absolutely contact us at thrivingchildcenter.com. We'll set up a call with you with our client concierge, and he does such a good job matching people with the right therapist for their kids. We're really picky about where everybody goes. But I hope this is helpful. I know it's so hard to be a parent in these moments. Even for me, my kids don't always even tell me what's going on. But I've just found that these strategies do work really well in and out of therapy for getting kids to talk to you about the hard things. So I hope you're having a great week. If you want to give me feedback, go ahead and follow us at Educated Parent Podcast. Go ahead and see and join the conversations about what everyone is talking about. And I look forward to talking to you next time.